Good morning, everybody. Hope you all are fine, doing well. So, last few classes, you were pretty well acquainted with the term molecular biology techniques. You have done recombinant DNA technology, and basically, the few tools of molecular biology which was used for recombinant DNA technology that you have gone through, I suppose. One such tool there was, okay, fine. Before going to the class proper, let us first know what is the objective of this class. Very brief objective of my class is that today, at the end of the class, my students will be able to know and explain what is blotting, and then we are going to know what is RFLP, that is restriction fragment length polymorphism. So polymorphism, actually what it means has been discussed in the previous classes, and we will again have a brief overview of this polymorphism. But before going to this polymorphism aspect, let us complete this blotting and then we will discuss RFLP, right? So as I was saying, that molecular biology techniques needed few tools. One such tool was the enzyme restriction endonuclease, right? It was a very important discovery and it helped us to find newer ways to undergo various techniques related to molecular biology. So these are mainly known as molecular scalpels, and it can cut DNA fragments at definite specific sequences, right, that you know. Keeping this in mind, let us move to blotting then. What is blotting? Right? Blotting, it itself means that when we are blotting something, we are taking an imprint, isn't it? So just keep that in mind, that we are taking an imprint. How we are taking an imprint, that we'll discuss gradually once we cover the entire technique, right? So entire system of molecular biology techniques are governed with the desire to find the gene of interest, isn't it? You want to find, suppose this is a length of DNA and you are concerned with find the gene of interest. Suppose this is a place which you want find to identify and to isolate, isn't it? So what you are going to do, first of all, as I said, keeping in mind the restriction endonuclease, what it has given us? It has given us the opportunity to cut this particular DNA at various restriction sites, right? We are employing restriction endonuclease. There are various, and I am not going to go into details of restriction endonuclease as it has been done previously. So this restriction endonuclease, they are going to cut your DNA, right? So your aim is to identify and find out the gene of interest, right? And you know, or you want to know whether that gene of interest is present in this DNA molecule, right? So what you are doing, you are first making use of restriction endonuclease with the prior knowledge, because all these molecular tools and their activities, they have been totally thoroughly found out and everything has been documented. So this restriction, we will use one such restriction endonuclease which will cut from both the ends. We know that so this gene of interest, it can cut both the ends of this and can get a segment of this gene of interest out. So we will use that particular restriction endonuclease and then we are making fragments, right? Such sort of fragments we make, right? And suppose this was our gene of interest. right? So first step of blotting is making small fragments with restriction endonuclease enzyme, right? Once you have made these small fragments, now what you are going to do, you are going to separate it. How you are going to separate it? We do second step, gel electrophoresis. So electrophoresis, you know, right, fine, in the discussion of protein also, right, when we have seen that in the proteins we are able to separate it, right? We are using gel. That gel can be polyacrylamide gel, that gel can be agarose gel, right? We make a gel, and then this is suppose is our positive end and this is the negative. So the positive end means this is anode and this is our cathode, right? And there are wells. So the fragment which you have made, right, we will just put it here with pipettes, right, and we are putting it here. Fine. So what is the need for undergoing this electrophoresis? The need is these particular fragments, they differ by certain length, isn't it? They differ by length. So this electrophoresis has got extremely high resolving power. Two DNA fragments, if they are separated by at least one single base, it will be shown, it will be resolved in the gel itself, right? So if I am using polyacrylamide gel, I can get a fragment of 1000 base pairs, right? And to get higher than 1000 base pairs, say around 2000 3000 base pairs, right, and I use agarose gel electrophoresis, right? 20,000 base pairs, I use agarose gel electrophoresis. So what we do is that we keep this particular DNA fragment, we put it right in the wells and we apply current. As we apply current, as the DNAs are negatively charged because of their phosphate backbone, they start migrating towards the anode, right? Suppose this is the migration. Now, this is the furthest moving fragment, depends upon the size, right? Smaller the size, the more the distance it will cover, right? And longer the size, longer the length, less the distance it will cover. That particular knowledge we have, right? And to know what is the number of base pairs or the size of these fragments, we will run a marker or the standard in the subsequent well nearby, adjacent well nearby, and it is going to give me the standard length. Suppose this particular length is around say 1500 kilo base pairs. This is say around 1000 kilo base pairs. This is 500 kilo base pairs, right? So with that I can just calculate, right, and we'll be able to at least know, right, and what is the length of this particular base pair. So these are standards, right? So with the standards, right, and I will be able to know the length of the base pairs. Fine. So that we have done, double-stranded DNA cut into smaller pieces by restriction endonuclease, right? Restriction and endonuclease we are doing, right? And we are separating the DNA fragments. Once the separation is done, next what we have to do, we have to see, our main motto was to find out the gene of interest, isn't it? Where this gene of interest lies, isn't it? So we have to identify it and we have to isolate it. So next step what we are going to do is the step number 3. It was second step. This particular gel containing the separated fragments of the DNA will be applied, will be given mild alkali condition, that is the pH will be increased. Why we are doing that? As this is double stranded, right, it will get separated into single stranded. This was double stranded, right? The hydrogen bonds, with the increase in the pH, right, when the hydrogen bonds are going to get broken down and they will be separated into single strands. Once these single strands we are getting, right, fine, with the apply of mild alkali, next what we do is that we do number 4 is we are doing blotting. So see, this is separated. I have taken the gel, this gel has been taken, right? Now what I do is that, suppose this is the gel, I have applied mild alkali condition, right? Sodium hydroxide, suppose say, and this gets separated, single strand I have obtained, right? And now what I am going to do is that I am going to use nitrocellulose sheet or nylon sheet or nitrocellulose paper or nylon paper, where I'll be taking the imprint of this particular gel, right? This is what is known as the main blotting step, right? What I'm doing, I'm taking this gel, okay, I'm taking this gel, and what I'm doing is that there is a system, right? That system we are not going into depth, right? So this is transfer buffer is capped, okay, transfer buffer is capped, and this transfer buffer we are putting some sponges, and then the gel we put it here, and then we put the nitrocellulose sheet or the nylon sheet, right, and give some cotton towels above and sponge, and then what we do is that we press it so that we will be able to take the imprint of this separated fragments of DNA in the gel and put the imprint in the nitrocellulose sheet, nitrocellulose paper, right? So suppose say, and this nitrocellulose paper will be of the same size of this gel. So this is suppose say nitrocellulose paper, and we are able to take the imprint of the separated fragments, right? Next what we are going to do is that, so these are all single stranded fragments. Now we have to identify our gene of interest. So we know what is that gene, we know the sequence of that particular gene. Suppose we are able to find the sequence out by DNA sequencing and all. So what we will do is that we will design a proof. It is known as proof. So what is this proof? Proof is nothing but the complementary DNA of this particular area, right? So what we are going to do is that we are going to immerse this nitrocellulose paper or this sheet into a well. We are going to immerse it here, and here, right, and what we are going to do is that we are going to put the proof. This proof is nothing but the complementary DNA of this particular gene of interest, isn't it? And they are tagged by P32. So that is, they are radio labeled. They can be radio labeled, they can be fluorescently tagged, right? So this is varies from place to place what they use. So radio label complementary DNA we are putting it here. This complementary DNA is complementary to the gene of interest, and we are putting this cellulose paper in that, submerged it into the proof solution. And what we are going to do is that after that we are going to take the cellulose paper out, right? We are going to take it out, say here, and then we are going to examine it, right? If you are using radio level proofed auto radiography, we are going to use. So what will happen is, this proof will hybridize itself to the gene of interest. Suppose this is the gene of interest, right? And this particular segment will glow, right? Radiographically you will get the impression. Rest, right, and you won't get anything as such. So by that you will be able to know, right, find that this is, right, and this particular fragment you are able to identify it, right, and then you are going to separate it. So this is how you want to, if you want to find out the gene of interest, this is how you perform the steps. First you cleave it, and then you do the gel electrophoresis, and then you blot it into the nitrocellulose paper, and then with the help of complementary DNA. Now you see in the step where I said that the double-stranded DNA are separated into single-stranded DNA. So now you can understand why there was the need to denature it, because you want this proof to get tagged with the gene of interest, hybridized with the gene of interest. So this is single stranded, so it has to bind up, hybridize with a single stranded DNA only. So that is what we are, that is why we are separating it by employing mild alkali condition. So this is all about separation of DNA fragments by blotting, and this particular blotting technique was discovered by Edward Southern. So this is known as Southern blotting. Right? Now, this is for DNA. DNA, we do Southern blotting. We have also got Northern blotting, which is for RNA, and Western blotting, which is for protein. So these Northern and Western are just like jargons, because Southern was somewhere we can relate with the Edward Southern name, so Southern blotting was given, the name Southern was given, but rest I can just Southern and then Northern, it was the jargon, so that is used nowadays, so it has been kept like that. Now for RNA, what we do is that the process is similar, right? But as RNA is single stranded, so we are not doing this particular step where we are employing the mild alkali environment to separate the two DNA strands. So as it is single stranded RNA, so we are not separating the strands. So this step is not done, and rest of the steps are quite same. We are using the complementary DNA proof to find the gene of interest. Now for protein, similarly we separate the proteins, right? And here for Western blotting, what the proof which we use is antibody tagged with enzyme. Okay, so antibody means the antibody against the protein of interest, right? So this antibody will go, it will bind, and then it will give us the color or the fluorescence depending upon, right, fine, the enzyme which we use and what is the purpose of that enzyme, right? This enzyme, if it is, say, converting a dye, giving it a color, right, making that color, so we will be able to find a color over here. Suppose we are using, say, luciferase, okay, and this converting the luminol, and you are going to get a luminescence. So this is the various modality of detecting, right, fine, the protein bound proof, right? So this is all about your blotting in nutshell. So I hope with this we will be able to understand that the DNA fragment of interest, right, fine, can be obtained in this manner using the various tools like restriction endonuclease enzyme, and then the electrophoresis, gel electrophoresis, and the blotting technique, right?